Setipa. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Well, there's so much going on, isn't there? We shall sort of spread ourselves. We won't necessarily be dealing with everything today. Mr. Sunday Igboho's house was, quote-unquote, visited by the authorities. That's on the one side. Then the PIB bill has been signed finally. So again, you must have been seeing that on our station, but maybe you haven't seen what is going to be our first subject today, and that is local government and local government development area elections coming up on the 24th of July. Now, my guest this morning is Honorable Justice Ayotunde Phillips, Chairman LASIEC and former Chief Judge of Lagos State. My Lord, it's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
Morning.
Morning. So here we are now. It's not so far away, the 24th, and I know you have so many different assignments leading up to the successful conduct of any election. So could I ask for a progress report?
Well, right now we've done most of the preliminary work. The parties have had their primaries. They've submitted the list of their candidates, and right now my commissioners in the office are conducting the validation exercise of all the candidates whose names have been submitted. Mm-hmm. This will last until next week, Thursday. Okay. But then with this
when you say validation, for people, politicians and people like any, they understand it. But validating that they actually are who they say they are and
yes.
are qualified
yes.
and all.
For the positions they're vying for. Mm-hmm. Like their certificates, their tax certificates where necessary. But most times, we can't choose for the parties really. So it's just an exercise to make sure that the constitutional provisions and the various guidelines and laws have been complied with by all these candidates. And then we'll submit a list of all the validated candidates. Although it doesn't stop the parties from still presenting a person who we don't validate really. Mm-hmm. The parties are supreme. They can present whoever they want to present.
Yes, but you also have a job of work to do. All independent yes. electoral commissions.
Yes.
They stand at the guard yes. for anything that will become a problem
yes,
later on.
We would have done our bit, mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. then anybody who's still not satisfied, the courts will do the rest.
Now. The candidates, you know now that they've given you the notice, but the party can still change right up until a few days before?
Yes, 3 days before elections.
3 days before they can change.
They call it substitution or mm-hmm. withdrawal. Some parties, some candidates withdraw, and the parties do substitute some candidates. Some people, unfortunately, pass on.
Okay.
And some fall very ill, and some just have a change of mind. So,
now, maybe we could talk about the much spoken of voter apathy that it is alleged we experience. In your experience, is that indeed the case? Because you will know the number of voters that are in a given area, and the records you've had in the past, because you've been at this for quite a while. First of all, would you accept that there is voter apathy, and if so, what do you think can be done?
There is voter apathy, especially in local government elections. The people just don't seem to be bothered. And it's worrying because this is grassroots politics. This is your neighborhood. Like if you are liked in your neighborhood and they want to make you a councillor, they should be able to do so. Mm-hmm. And they should come out and they should show interest in who is representing their interests at the grassroots. But they don't seem to care very much.
Well, I think it's a problem because we have commentators coming and speak with us and say, look, that is where the real power resides actually. The broadest aspect, the base of the pyramid, so to speak. But people seem to concentrate only, and I've made this comment before, on they want to be president, they want to be governor, they want to be senator, they want to be representative, and maybe assemblyman. But local government is not seen as all that important. It's a phase we have to go through, right?
I know, but it has to change because it's like a house. When you're building a house, the grassroots, I believe that's the foundation of the democracy in any state, in any country. And once that is solid, you build on a solid foundation. So it's dangerous for the people not to care who represents them at that level, because that's the basis on which the rest will be built. But unfortunately, the people just don't seem to care. And we need a lot of time, we need a lot of energy and money to do this. We've not been able to do much. Our plan really was to really start working from last year. Okay. Making, having stakeholders meetings. So by now we'd have had several stakeholders meetings with the various segments, CDAs, market men and women, security, students, things like that. But we couldn't do that because of COVID. Government shut down for most of last year because of COVID. And just as we were recovering from COVID, NSAS came in. So I mean, like, last year just went.
It was
went with a puff of smoke. So unfortunately, we have not been able to do as much as we would have loved to do. However,
but you've still done enough for a successful conduct of the election.
I believe so, and we're still at it right up to the elections. Like next week or week after, we're going to start immediately we finish the validation exercise, we're going to start having stakeholders meetings. So I guess, the nearer the better. It will be fresh in people's minds. So we're still reaching out to the public, and of course I'm doing my rounds in the radio and television while the commissioners are working in the office. So
sort of sensitizing the public,
yes,
and seeing if that will help and bring people out.
Hoping that will help.
Indeed. Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission. The word independent, how independent are you actually? Not just you, but all LASIX, all state independent electoral commissions.
The only item that I see personally that we're not independent is the funding.
Okay.
We're funded by the state government, and so where you have to rely on the state government for funds. I would have liked a situation where all our funds are just placed in our account, if they would trust us enough. And but government funds, very difficult to spend government funds really without being accountable for it. That's the only aspect. Otherwise, they don't really interfere with us, and we get, when we make our submissions, we get virtually whatever we want.
Okay.
But when it comes to elections, I would still prefer that at least, if you can't give us all, give us a good portion of it, so we can plan, because you can't plan very well without the money, and it does help logistics if you have, bought all what you need to get for the elections.
So, and this is not just a Lagos State thing. I think it's
all over. We all have the same complaints.
Yeah, everybody will have the same complaints, and you just have to make the best. Because as you said, if you could call it, you'd want, please, can you just pay us directly, because that way we know what we want to do and we can go about doing it.
And we'll account for it at the end of the day. Auditors, external auditors come in, we have internal auditors, we have all kinds of auditors. So
but that one place of the funds, all the state governors or the states are careful about that funding matter.
I don't blame them really, because like in Lagos State, the government had a lot of unforeseen expenditure last year, so which has affected really the revenue coming in this year, and what the items they have to spend on that they didn't really envisage.
Now, there's a part of a conversation that's going along the lines of, do we really need the state independent electoral commissions anymore? In other words, should we scrap them? I'm sure you must have heard about this. What are your thoughts on this whole question?
I don't think that they should scrap the state independent electoral commissions. I didn't know much about this before I was appointed chairman 5 years ago. But I've come to realize that each state government does need to have an independent electoral commission in place, as is done in most other places, because that is grassroots politics, and that is structure. That's the word I've just learned from the politicians. That's where the government of the day finds its structure, and that's what makes them what they are, and that's what gives them a say. So it's good to have a national body to handle the general elections. In some states, like in America, you see, this same body that handles the gubernatorial elections and the state houses of assembly elections. So, each state, if we're going to practice democracy and true federalism, the states should be more powerful than what they are now. because all the power is in the center,
Yeah.
and there's little or nothing in the states. This is one of the few things, the few items of democracy left for the states, grassroots politics, and I think they should leave it for the states.
Okay, we have a question. Mr. Olajide has called in from Festac. Good morning, sir. I hear that horrible sound. Looks like we just lost you. The call dropped. Olajide called in from Festac. See if you can get us again. You might have a question to ask the chairman of LASIEC, Justice, Honorable Justice Ayotunde Phillips. And, okay, the other thing that I sort of wanted to understand is that as you're doing all of these preparations, as you're making all these preparations, security is crucial. We must have security on the day. We talked about voter apathy. Part of the reason is that people are worried that, how am I sure I'll be safe? Could I just ask, first of all, compare it with experiences you've had in the past. You've been at this for 5 years now. What have you done by way of preparation in terms of security?
Yeah, security, we'll be foolish to say that, we'll just brush it aside, that we're quite secure. We're not. The incidences of the past, of recent past, has showed us that we need to pay special attention to security. We're meeting, and we've had a series of meetings now with members from all the security agencies in the state: DSS, police, Army, Navy, Air Force, Civil Defense,
okay,
and even Neighborhood Watch. We had a meeting a couple of days ago. We're going to meet weekly until 2 weeks after the election, just to sort out. And we are thinking very much of having the Operation Mesa very visible during the elections. We've identified several flashpoints, and those will get special attention. The armed forces, as you well know, they don't really like interfering in the elections. It's not really their duty. So, but they'll be there just in case anything goes haywire. They could quickly run to the rescue of the police who are in the front line, okay, and the civil defense. Okay. So we're working on it. We're not sleeping. We're not resting on our oars. Okay. We're taking every precaution. Okay.
Raphael in Ikoton, thank you for holding on. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
I've been following up your program, and it's very, very enlightening.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is the first time I'm calling you, Uncle Yori.
Okay, we're delighted to have you. Did you want to ask a question about the upcoming, local government and LCDA elections in Lagos State? Hello?
What I want to say is that we need transparency in Nigeria as a whole.
Okay.
Okay, are you getting me clearly, please?
Yes, we can hear you. We
need transparency in the role of government.
Yes, I hear you, but we're talking about conducting an election.
I'm so grateful to God that my call could go through.
Okay, Raphael, I indeed take the point that you make. We need transparency, but we're talking about conducting the next local election in Lagos on the 24th of July, local government election. Did you have anything you wanted clarification on in that regard? Have we lost Raphael? Oh, Raphael has gone. Thank you, Raphael, for calling in transparency, but let's address it. He said in government as a whole, but this whole transparency, the electoral process too, it is required that it be as transparent as it can be, really. You want to make any comments in that regard as to how that's going to be objective in Lagos?
Oh yes, totally. I mean, we have to be very transparent. The whole purpose of having the elections really, and for the polity to be satisfied and want to participate, is if you show that you're preparing a level playing field for all the participants. In this election, we have about 15 of the 18 registered political parties participating. So, I mean, you don't show favors to anybody. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Everybody gets equal treatment, fair treatment, and a good opportunity to participate. So it's important that we have to be very transparent.
And you're doing all that you can.
We're doing all that. We put everything in place.
Okay. Mr. James, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, go right ahead, please.
All right, my name is Mr. James Additional from Lagos, Nigeria. I am the chairman of Interparty Advisory Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter.
Okay.
As well as the chairman of African Action Congress. I would say that you are doing a very amazing work here, at least because this matter of discussion is a very important one. It is the local government election that actually determine how true governance will be run in Nigeria, and it's actually the foundation of democracy. So, and you have a wonderful guest also in your studio. I've met with her times without number. Myself being a major stakeholder in this very local government election, we have been engaging the LASEC management from time to time, and they have always been involving us in every activities. Okay. And this what she's currently doing now was part of our discussion. That is the sensitization of the public on the need to come out during election and vote, because it is our right. You cannot have a good representative in governance if you do not exercise your right by voting. So it is the people that needs to choose whoever that they want at the ends of affairs. The local government chairman and councillors are closer to the people, more than the governor, more than the House of Representatives, the senators, and the president. So this is the best time for we Nigerians to come out, Lagosians really, in particular, to come out and participate fully in this very election. Myself, my party, we have candidates, we're able to feed in candidates and other parties as well, right, and awareness have started. But I will need to also say that the challenge of people about politics, about local government, really is about the body in charge of it, like the distrust, okay, concerning the body. But concerning this particular about this LASEC head and body, the Honorable Justice are proving herself to be unbiased, because she has been transparent in the process of this very local government election preparation, and we have confidence in her.
Very good. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Adesanya. James Ade, you know him.
Yes, the chairman of IPAC.
Indeed. It's such a cumbersome process, and that's why you have all the time that you really have to sort of work at this. So would it be easier if e-voting and e-elections were a reality, and do you think it can become a reality?
Oh yes, I mean, that is one of the projects after my heart. I really hope that I will still live to see a time in Nigeria that we can sit in our homes and just go on your laptop or your phone, open up an app and vote. It will be so easy. And I'm sure that will tackle voter apathy. Even because everybody has a phone in Nigeria now. Even the illiterates have phones. And their grandchildren, their children teach them, press this mama, press that baba, that kind of thing. So, plus I wanted to see what INEC has it in the pipeline now. Because of course we're going to have to amend our legislation, our laws for Lagos State to include it. But I'd like to see what INEC wants to do with what wants to make out of it. And then, we can learn from their errors and then come up with a perfect system. And
you had observed when we were talking about this before coming on air that it's going to cost a pretty penny.
Oh yes, it's very expensive. So there's not too much room for trial and error.
Okay. Mr. Adewale in Abule Egba, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, please, I would like just to ask Madam a question.
Sure.
Chairman of Lagos State Electoral Body. Many times we always hear about some party not being satisfied with the process. Some will pull out. Some will pull out during the process. Some will not even participate at all. What are the commission doing to enlighten all these people, and especially to the confidence, so that when they are doing all these local elections, they carry all the parties along and the trust will be there. Not that after the election we were at the one party doing everything, you know, but there should be a kind of seminar that you do that will carry along so many other parties and show them the trust, so that we won't be hearing stories of some pull out, some are not satisfied with the results, so, you know. So that's the question I want to ask, madam.
All right.
Well, it's all sensitization. We're going to meet with the political parties as part of our sensitization exercise, and we'll raise this issue with them. But you see, the parties are supreme when it comes to the issue of their candidates and participation. If a party decides to pull out, it will have its own reasons for pulling out. It certainly won't be because LASEC didn't allow them to register their parties. That won't happen. If we don't allow them to submit names, or if we make it difficult for them to do anything that they're supposed to do, then you can accuse us that we caused it. But under our watch, that has never happened. Everybody's treated the same. And if the party realizes at the end of the day that they don't really have enough candidates, or they can't afford to campaign or whatever, then that would be their own domestic problem. But for us, we've provided a level playing field for every participant.
Okay.
And nobody can accuse us of stopping them.
All right. Oluwaseun calling in from Berger area. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, madam. Good morning. Go ahead, please. What's your question?
I would like to ask the chairman of LASEC.
Hello, Chief.
Because there is this rumor that is going around that some of the candidates for the chairmanship elections are
get a little more volume.
Having fake results or something like that. I would like to
could you say that part again, please? Sorry, Oluwaseun, it's only now we've just heard you. You would like to ask her lordship what?
I would like to ask the chairman, sir, what they are doing about the results of the participants, of the candidates, because there is this rumor going around that some of them are fake results.
There's a rumor going around that
some of the participants, I mean the candidates for the chairmanship election, that they are having fake results.
Fake results.
Okay.
What is doing about that?
All right.
But it's not for us to go to look into that. That's the party. That's a party problem. I've received from some petitions that some of the candidates that have been presented by some of the parties, not only the ruling party, have fake results. Well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Talking about qualifications.
Qualifications.
Okay.
That the SSE in particular, that it's fake. They will have to go and sort that out really, and probably get a court order to that effect.
Okay.
That's hearing just one side of the story.
Yeah.
The party has presented a candidate A with this result, and this one says no, that result is fake. We need to see proof.
But we started with that you're in the middle of validation right now.
That's what they're doing now. Yes.
And is this not part of validating?
Yes, they will mark it. It will be marked against the person's name. That there's an allegation that this is proof.
Okay, if you find out,
so they'll put in
good enough time.
In good enough time, and then in the remarks, not validated.
Okay, and if you're not validated, you can't go through to be voted.
The party can still present that candidate.
I see.
We have no powers to disqualify any candidate.
In this theoretical example, at least that's the way I'm looking at it for now. If indeed a party does not have the required qualification, SSE for example, and it is pointed out to them that our checks show this, you're saying that the party could still say, well, we're sorry, that's
who we want.
But since this doesn't comply with the law,
well, then the party would not have to, the aggrieved party, the persons within the party, would not have to take it to court.
I see.
And then you present with the court order, and then definitely that candidate, if he wins the election and is in position, he'll be removed, and there'll probably be a by-election to replace him.
Well, it is the law. It is the law. It's the way it is, but it's going to cost us a lot more money that way. But indeed, you're going to go along.
Yes,
INEC will not interfere. No. The party, as you said, is supreme.
I don't even think INEC does a validation exercise that we do. We have it in our law. I'm not too sure that they have it in theirs. But we just put no. So I queried it when I first got there. That why go through all this if we can't choose? So well, that's what our law says. We're just complying with the law. Okay.
Okay. Well, this is part of sensitizing the people, because maybe not very many people, especially the youths, are aware that on the 24th of July, a very important election, the local government and local council development areas election, will be taking place. And that's probably, it's painful to say, it's probably because it's not for a senatorial seat, for example, or for a governorship seat. They don't think it is important enough, but as somebody has pointed out here, somebody called in, I think it was Mr. Adesanya who called in to say that it is
very important.
It's a very important election. So what you're doing now is sensitizing people as much as possible. So let it be known that the election is coming up. You need to be part of it. Pending the time when we shall have e-voting. But in the meantime, you've got to. You should make time to go out there.
Please add something. That
sure, please.
LASEC does not. We do not choose candidates for parties. We've been accused of substituting names and replacing names on the list. We do not. We have nothing at all to do with it. The primaries are done solely by the parties, and they present the list to us, and it's the list presented to LASEC that we paste on our notice board. We don't touch the list. We have nothing to do with substitution of candidates. So that accusation is very painful because it is so wrong and it is so unfair.
And it is not true.
And it is not true.
At the end of the day.
It's a big lie.
Well, you did say that the only challenge would be that of finance. You don't have all that you could use in the timely manner. But apart from that, all things considered, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. No, it's not too bad. We're not interfered with it. In fact, we're left alone to get on with it. It's just when it comes to money.
I understand Mr. Adebayo from Agbado. Okay, you're our last caller on this segment. Go right ahead, please. Mr. Adebayo in Agbado.
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm also with you. Go ahead.
Hello.
If you can hear us, please go ahead. Did you have a question for Justice Phillips or an observation?
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
I just want to ask Madam concerning the certificate issue. The other lady just. Hello.
Yes, you wanted to ask her concerning what? Certificates.
Issue. The certificate issue she just mentioned right now.
Okay. What do you want to ask?
Can they verify from their own office too to know whether the certificate is true or not?
Well, okay. She answered that really that they don't really they don't really deal with verification in that way. Did you hear when she mentioned that? It came up and she said, no, that's not the function of their office. And, she also has explained that should it indeed turn out to become an issue, then whoever feels injured will now have to go to court. And it just is the way it is, the way the law has been set up. INEC, LASEC, state independent electoral commissions cannot disqualify a candidate.
No, we cannot.
That's not the way it works. I hope that satisfies your question, but thank you very much. I think you're the last question. You're the last person to be able to ask a question, and we thank you very much for it, along with all the other people who had asked questions. And really just to know that on the 24th of July, an election is coming up, and you need to know about that. Maybe go online and find out a lot more about it. Find out what your party of choice, there are 15 of 18 parties actually will be fielding candidates.
And they can go to our website. Our website is up and running.
Okay.
And it's has all the information they need.
Excellent. So the LASEC website, you can find that out. I don't need to give it to you. Just Google LASEC and it will come up. Thank you very much, Justice Phillips, for coming on, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay. Okay, welcome back. And now from the chairman of LASIEC, let's swing over to the presidency. And waiting for us there is Mr. Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant for Public Affairs. Good morning, Ajuri. Great to see you.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Always a privilege to be with you, sir.
All right, then. Now, something came up, and I thought you'd be our man. We're looking at the federal government's EEFP, Export Expansion Facility Program, and this is under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan. Now, tell us what that really means. The Export Expansion Facility. If I'm an exporter, my level, if I'm an individual exporter, if I'm a conglomerate, could you sort of take us through it, please, and see how you indeed will be expanding facilities for exporters?
Thank you very much, Uncle Yori. So this is really an extension of President Muhammadu Buhari's active determination since 2015 to really move beyond the rhetoric as it relates to economic diversification and move very swiftly into very aggressive action. So this is one of those action steps. So as you know, over the last several years, we've been aggressively investing in agriculture and other very labor-intensive sectors, really moving our productivity away from merely just oil and gas. Well, a major part of that now, as we move towards self-sufficiency, for example, in rice, in 2015, most Nigerians know that we were the largest importer of rice in Africa. We are today the largest producer of rice in Africa. So we're making a lot of progress. So, but as we're moving to address meet our self-sufficiency, meet our local demand, we're now getting to the point where we're meeting the local demand and now getting to the point where we can export the excess. So what the president is now doing is, in effect, through the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, under the very able leadership of Barrister Segun Awolowo, what is happening is that the president is now providing multiple facilities for Nigerian exporters, for those who are producing in Nigeria to export abroad. So, for example, we have the Export Development Fund is releasing export grants to exporters across the country, particularly with quotas for women and disadvantaged citizens, such as physically disadvantaged persons, etc. They're going to have about a minimum of 40% of those grants. Essentially, what we're doing is we're going to these grants will allow them to expand their existing operations and upgrade their productive capacity to enhance the nation's export kind of market share in other global economies. So that's one part of it, is the export grant. The second part, which is very strategic, is under the EEFP, 50 billion naira facility. We're also establishing new domestic export warehouses. At these domestic export warehouses near our nation's ports, we are going to effectively have one-stop shops where we're going to streamline all of the various export items across value chains and sectors to ensure that they meet certain standards of quality, that safety standards are being adhered to, so that when Nigerian exports reach Malaysia, reach the US, reach the UK, reach Germany and Mexico and all these other countries, that they are of the highest international standards, so that we can effectively compete with other products being imported into those countries, which is very strategic. Okay,
now this program, this Export Expansion Facility Program under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, it's all about, crude oil, one of our major waiting call. Did I just say waiting call? You get what I mean. Is a wasting asset. So the time will come when it won't be there anymore, or at least we won't have it in the quantities we have now. So all of this is like, it looks like the administration is sort of preparing for that, even though it's not going to be next year. It might not even be 10 years' time. But at least establishing the foundation for when we can't depend on oil anymore. Is that right?
That's absolutely right, Uncle Yori. In effect, if you look at what is happening now in the nation's oil and gas sector, effectively what President Muhammadu Buhari is doing is saying, look, we understand that this is a wasting asset. We understand that there is an expiration date to the viability of oil in the global economy. And as a result of that, we must get the most out of our oil productive capacity that we can while it's still a revenue generating opportunity. And that's why just yesterday, after decades of delay, of course, the House of Representatives as well as the Senate passed the Petroleum Industry Bill as amended. We're very excited about that, what that's going to mean, not just for our host communities, but also for the enhancement of investment, both onshore as well as in the deep offshore exploration space, not just for indigenous local oil firms, but also for the international oil companies. Everybody is going to be fairly, recognized financially for the production they're going to bring to the table under that framework. In addition to that, the president has also said that we're moving very aggressively from oil into gas, because we recognize as an administration that gas is going to outlive oil in terms of its viability, in terms of the international, the global economy. So what the president has been doing, aside from the very recently the groundbreaking on the NLNG Train 7, a $10 billion project that's going to enhance the national gas production capacity from 22 million tons per annum to 30 million tons per annum. The president has said we're not only going to enhance our production capacity with Train 7, but that we're going to work toward Train 8 while also drastically upgrading our gas transmission capacity. So the president, for example, has put in place the expansion of the OB3 pipeline moving from Rivers through Delta to Edo, the Obiafu Obrikom Oben pipeline, from 1.1 billion standard cubic feet per day to 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day, dualize that. Then in the West, we have been able to dualize the Escravos to Lagos gas pipeline from 1.1 billion standard cubic feet per day to 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day, essentially doubling the gas supply to power industries across Western Nigeria. And we know the impact that will have on the national economy. And then finally, about the Ajeokuta to Kaduna to Kano gas pipeline, multi-billion-dollar project that this administration is putting in place, that's also going to transport 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day of gas from the Niger Delta up through the Middle Belt, up through the north, as the root piece of what will ultimately be the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, ensuring that we can move Nigerian gas into Europe through the Sahara, through North Africa, in addition to our extension of the West African gas pipeline through Morocco. So the president's really building an economy, creating new revenue generation streams for the future of the Nigerian economy when oil dries up and gas is still irrelevant, and ensuring that the made in Nigeria products, whether it's potatoes, cocoa, processed goods as well, like vegetable oil, for example, from our soybeans, that these things are being exported so that we have multiple streams of income and we move away from oil and gas. He's not talking about it, he's actually doing it, and that's the difference.
It's great the way you just spoke about other things, crucial as gas and all of this is, but you now came down, because I was going to ask, so how do people will people be able to engage with this? After all, it is called the Export Expansion Facility Program. Right. Let's say I'm into cashew nuts, for example, whatever it is. It might be yam, it might be mangoes. So that's why I said, I appreciate your speaking about the heavy duty, first. But then how would the ordinary, first of all, how will you categorize exporters? There will be almost like one-man businesses, and then there will be companies. How are you going to handle that?
Thank you very much. It's a very, very important question you've just asked. So yes, indeed, there are there is a categorization framework for our exporters. But as in other parts of the 2.3 trillion naira economic sustainability plan, overseen by His Excellency the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the focus has consistently been the ordinary Nigerian, the common man, making sure that MSME that is operating in the export space.
What is MSME that you just said?
Yeah, that's micro and small and medium scale enterprises, okay. Not the large scale conglomerates, but those small mom and pop shops. Yeah. The young entrepreneur who's making plantain chips, cocoa chips, that's right. And many of the other things, coconut chips and all of that. these are the people that we're providing these grants to ensure that they can really scale up their operations. We don't want to just favor those who are already, rolling in billions of profit. We're focused really on those that really need the assistance of government, not just in terms of financial grants, by the way, economic grants. It's also, aside from the domestic export warehouses, which are very important, and these export grants, we're also embarking on massive training exercises for exporters across the nation. The process is the EEFP website. In effect, you go there, you register for the grants, you register for the various interventions. But what it allows you to do is we train our exporters at all levels, micro, small, and medium scale, that we train them on the
Okay, it hooked for a while, but Ajuri was just saying in there that
very unique. If you're exporting to the U.S., what we do is we lay out in detail what the U.S. import requirements are to ensure that you effectively meet up with all of the requirements to the destination country that you're exporting to, which is very, very strategic. So there are multiple elements to the EEFP intervention.
And thank you for mentioning, because I also noted it myself. There is, if anybody is watching this, of course, the big guys, and the big projects, they always have their advisors, their specialists. But for the quote-unquote mom-and-pop, sector, you were speaking about there is an EEFP website, and if people were to go there, then they will find a lot of enlightenment about EEFP, and indeed how to register. Indeed, those that qualify to register. So, because I wanted to bring this to the human level, so that people watching this who are not big corporations could also see that they're also accounted for.
Absolutely. President Muhammadu Buhari is one leader who understands that the future of the Nigerian economy is really not even going to be oil and gas. It's really going to be in the ingenuity of our people. If you look around the world at the most advanced economies of the world, whether it's China, the US, UK, Germany, Italy, Japan, you will find that they are built on the backs of private business at the smallest level, mom and pop shops, as you call them. When you have millions of your citizens employing other millions of other citizens, that is where that's where revenue generation comes from, sustainable revenue generation, and true wealth comes from, the ingenuity of our people.
Okay, Ajuri, one moment. Ada has called in from Jos. Let me try and get Ada's question. Good morning, Ada.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning to Ajuri.
Yeah.
It's Ada from Jos.
Yes, okay.
Very interesting topic. Export expansion grants or whatever is laudable. But what I want to ask,
Export Expansion Facility Program.
Okay, Export Expansion Facility Program. Okay, now, my question is this. What are they exporting? What are we doing to give right value to our materials? Does it make sense they export cassava and we import starch? That is the one thing. And when we add value to these raw materials, that is what paves way for employment. And let me tell you something. They are exporting. Okay, when you export, and we happen to, with some of the things here, the soaring prices of goods. I don't know how they are addressing that sort of issue.
All right.
Because a hungry man has no respect for law, authority, and humanity.
Okay.
But all the same, let's not give up on Nigeria.
No, we can't. We can't give up. Ajuri, I wonder, did you hear the question? Did you hear the comment?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did, my brother. I heard the question. Thank you very much, Ada, for the important question you've asked, or the observation you've also cited. I just want to say very quickly that, I think one of the areas where President Muhammadu Buhari does not get enough credit is his determination to process locally produced materials. We are not thinking about just exporting raw materials the way that most African countries have been doing for decades now. We are now thinking very actively, not just thinking, but acting toward ensuring that we're processing our raw materials. For example, we incentivized the construction in Kano State of a soybean processing facility that allows us for the first time to process our soybeans into vegetable oil so that we're exporting finished vegetable oil. Instead of a situation where for decades we have been exporting our soybeans to Germany so that the Germans will essentially employ their people in processing factories where they will process Nigerian soybeans, put the vegetable oil in a pack, wrap it up in a nice fancy packaging, and sell it back to Nigeria at 3 times. And we have to spend our scarce funds on those imports. That era is ending, and that's just one example of many examples across sectors where the president is actively investing in processing. We all know what the president has done in terms of processing in the gas sector, in the rice sector. We just unveiled last December a new integrated gas handling facility in Oredo of Edo State, essentially refining our wet gas into products like industrial grade propane that we can now export to the rest of the globe. So these are the areas where we can make a lot of progress, and the president is moving very aggressively in that direction, even in view of the scarcity of resources that we're facing as a country.
Yeah, indeed, lest we find ourselves in the situation Cote d'Ivoire actually is in regarding their cocoa and problems they're having. You know, it's being finished abroad. The best chocolate reportedly comes from Switzerland and France, but it's all from our cocoa, what it is processed over there. So what you're saying will relate to that. But Ajay, because we're running down on time, I wanted you to also speak about in terms of the Export Expansion Facility Program, which is under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, the impact indicators that you have, that this program has, to show that you are on track. How many people do you expect that this will come to be? Sorry, somebody was speaking while I was speaking. What I was getting at was that how is this going to improve employment? How many more people are going to come on board, be employed as a result of this initiative? And so as you're speaking, I'll find out what they were trying to tell me. Carry on, please.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I think first and foremost, when we look at the fact that we're coming through a global pandemic, before you're even looking at expanding, kind of the existing stock of jobs in the country, you're also thinking actively about ensuring the sustainability of existing jobs. Because, in a pandemic, millions of jobs have been lost, hundreds of millions of jobs have been lost around the world. So with obviously interventions like the Survival Fund, now the EEFP, what it does is not only does it deal with job sustainability, making sure that people are not getting sacked in the pandemic, but it also deals with making sure that these economic grants are deployed in such a manner that people can now expand their existing operations, employ other Nigerians. So it certainly does have an effect on job creation. But that's even just the direct job creation from the exporters. How about the indirect job creation? Because when they are producing more of their export product, naturally they are off-taking various raw materials from other suppliers wherever their operations are. And this has indirect impact on direct impact, but in an indirect fashion on other businesses and other entrepreneurs and laborers and artisans across the country, farmers and all of that. So it certainly does have an effect. We're looking at thousands of jobs from this EEFP, and that's not even including
one moment, please. Before you go further, I beg your pardon, Ajuri. One moment, please, because Mr. Ejirika has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Mr. Ejirika in Alimosho.
Good morning. Good morning, Yori.
Put a bit of phone on Alimosho before. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
I like this move you guys are making. I want to use this opportunity to tell, although my name was not well spelled, it's Ejirika, not Ejirika. I found this very difficult this is Nigerians find it difficult to pronounce an Igbo name. Igbo that is not an Egyptian name, an Igbo name and a Nigerian. Well, that is by the way. This issue Ngilare is talking about, I want him to, as a spokesperson of the federal government, as case may be, they should spread out these issues of job creation and job seeking issues generally to all the sectors. Because this one is talking about now is...
I wanted to say, I wanted to crave your indulgence that he's speaking particularly and perhaps even narrowly on the Export Expansion Facility Program.
Yes, I'm using, that's what I'm saying. I'm using this medium to tell him also. I heard what you said. I said I'm using the medium. Yes, the name is well spread now. The name is well spread now. I'm using this medium to tell him to be holistic
All right.
Generally, in the issues of job creation.
Okay.
You know, when you take this thing sector by sector, I mean, they should give out a time for introduction of all these things so that Nigerians can be carried along.
Okay.
The government seems to be doing so many things that we are not even privy to.
All right.
And you know, we are the one who put them there, but they are doing this thing as if they are doing it under the carpet.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Ejirika. I've got to give him a chance to sort of respond to that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ejirika, and so sorry for misspelling your name. So go ahead, please, Ajuri, if you will.
Yes, thank you to my brother, Mr. Ejirika, for calling in and providing his observations to all of us. I think it's important to note that when you see people like me come on air, it's for the sake of ensuring that everybody is carried along, that everybody understands these programs and how they can key into it. Most importantly, certainly have no interest in hiding anything under the rug. That's not in the interest of government or in the interest of the people of this country. I would say that to your question about spreading out the benefits, if you look carefully at how we have administered the social investment programs, how we've administered even the most recent survival fund during the pandemic, you would recognize that all states equitably benefited, across the states, across all local government areas within all of the states. That is essentially how the Export Expansion Facility program is functioned, to ensure equitable distribution in terms of the grants to exporters across all states of the Federation, making sure that everybody has an equal share of these kinds of opportunities, because really we have products, we have wealth across this country.
Okay.
We're not just dealing with a mono product. We're not talking.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to jump in again. I'm sorry, because I'm reminded that Ada had asked, what are we exporting? And there's so very much. But I wanted to combine that, in case this is my last question, with the fact that when you're talking about, this being for exporters, you're also addressing, I have found out, supporters of exporters when it comes to registration. So people who are adding services, would you like to speak about that very briefly, that beyond the exporters, there are those who are delivering service to exporters that are also included in this?
Absolutely. First of all, there are a series of items that we're already exporting. When you talk about, obviously everyone knows about what we do in cassava, what we do in yam, what we do in soybeans, what we do even in finished processed items like vegetable oil. We're already exporting finished items, like plantain chips, etc. I mean, there's so many. Not to speak of raw materials like petrochemicals, methanol, and other items. There are so many materials.
So that partly answers Ada's question. That partly answers other questions. What are we exporting? Now, as to the supporters, the services to exporters, I think it is noteworthy that they are also included in this sort of initiative from government.
Well, that's really where most of our, it's an important point you're making, Uncle Yori. When you look at the value chain kind of depth in terms of making sure that you're penetrating the entire value chain with interventions, you also have to take into account that the EEFP is not working in isolation. It's working in synergy with other interventions. So when we're rolling out hundreds of billions of naira in zero interest to low interest capital through the DBN, through the Bank of Industry to MSMEs across the nation, we are ensuring that these funds, this capital gets into the hands of these operators within these various value chains. When we talk about the trader money, farmer money, market money scheme, you're talking about zero interest capital that gets into the hands of these actors within these value chains. And that's separate from what we're doing through BOI and DBN. So there are so many different interventions that this administration has.
In fact, so too many, I beg your pardon, Ajuri, we've run out of time. Too many for us to talk about effectively. Maybe we're going to have to do this again, because you could have expanded if we had the time on the whole zero oil idea for that time. But I wanted to thank you very much, Ajuri Ngilali, Senior Special Assistant for Public Affairs in the Presidency, for coming on and bringing this, as it were, to the attention of many more people than before. Thanks, Ajuri.
God bless you, Uncle Yori. Thank you to our viewers.
Bye-bye now.